Hi everybody, today we're learning Math MIU 4 Investigations Unit 2, Lessons 1-1 and 1-2. And this is all about data. So to warm up, we're going to practice counting around the classroom by fours. So I'm going to click on this image and we're going to go to another site that's going to show us that. And here it is. We would say 4, 8, 12, 16. What would the fifth number be? 20, 24, plus 4 more is 28, plus 4 more, 32, plus 4 more, 36. What would 4 more after 36 be? What would the 10th number be? 40, if you got that right. Plus another 4 is 44, another 4 is 48, another 4 is 52, 56. Add 4 more to 56 and you'll get the 15th number. What would that be? 60. Very good. So we're just going to practice counting by fours the rest of the way. Try to think in your mind what the next number will be before I click on it. And we'll stop at 100. That was a good warm-up. Skip counting by fours. So as you're looking at the numbers now, you could skip count them with them there. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, 84, 88, 92, 96, 100. Whew, that's a lot of counting by fours. Let's go back to our lesson and continue on. That was a good warm-up. So what are we learning today in this lesson? Our big ideas are we can learn to organize categorical data into groups. Categorical data means data that comes in categories. We can organize categorical data different ways to answer different questions, and we can represent our categorical data using a data display like a bar graph. So here's some of our key vocabulary words. Our first word is data. Data is just a collection of information. So on the side here, you see a picture of cars, trucks, or bus. The question may have been, how do you get to work? And there's tally marks for how many people got to work by car, how many people take a truck, and how many people take a bus. So we can see next to it that we have a tally table, and we've counted up the X's over here in our other table, and we've got 8 for the car, 5 for the truck, and 2 for the bus. So we're representing our data using a tally table and a regular table, and we're just representing that collection of information. And that is what data is. We collect it. The next important vocabulary word is the word categories. A category is a type or group of things having the same features. So if we look at this picture of the bar graph, all of our categories are related to snacks. That is the group of things that we're talking about. And each of the items, each of the categories fits into the larger group of snacks. So we have a popcorn category, crackers, trail mix, cheese, vegetables, and fruit. So each of those are our categories, and we've represented them by a color in our bar graph to show how many people voted for each of those different types of snacks. And finally, we have a bar graph. That's a graph that uses height or length of rectangles to compare data. So you can see in our bar graph that has the blue bars, that bars are going up. And so that's the height of the bar to tell how many votes that got. In the red one, the red bars are going side to side. So that's the length of the bar. How long is that bar to the side? And we can use that to figure out how much data we have and compare it. So let's go back to that word data. Data is a collection of information that's usually collected by answering some sort of question. There are two kinds of data that we're going to talk about. Look at the red box, the numbers, the words that are in the red. This refers to numerical data. That's the first type of data, numerical data. You might think that the word numerical relates to numbers, and that's exactly right. The answer to a question, if it is a number, will give us numerical data. So for example, if I ask the question, how many pets do you have? You might say you have 2 pets. Or you might say you have 4 pets. That answer is a number, so that's numerical data. I might ask you how many times you've been to Disneyland. Maybe you say 0. I've never been to Disneyland. The answer is still 0, which is a number. If you said 5 times, I've been to Disneyland 5 times, the answer is still a number. And the last question, how old are you? You would give us a number response. Maybe you're 8 years old. Maybe you're 10 years old. That's numerical data. On the other hand, we have the other kind of data, which is categorical data, and that's in our blue box. So categorical data is when the answer to the question comes in words. If I were to ask you the question, what is your favorite special class? You may say your favorite special is music, and you would be answering with the word music. You might say your favorite special is library. You would answer with the word library. So you're answering in words. If I asked you the question, what is your favorite restaurant? You might tell me that your favorite restaurant is, I'm trying to think of a restaurant, Olive Garden. And so you've answered me in words. You may say your favorite restaurant is San Marcos Grill. You've answered me in words. You might say your favorite restaurant is McDonald's. That's a word. And last but not least, if I asked you the question, how do you get to school? You might say, I ride the bus. So you've answered me in words. Or you might say, somebody drives me. So you're coming in a car. So your answer is in words. That is categorical data. So today we're going to be working with categorical data only, not numerical data. So our answers are going to come in words. So let's see what comes next. We in class worked on gathering some categorical data on places we like to do different things. So if you're doing this activity for review, you might think back to when we did this activity in class. If you were not in class when we did this, what you would do is think about some answers to these questions. Where are some places that you like to read? Where are some places that you like to play? Where is a place that you like to visit? Where is a place that you might shop? And where is a place that you like to eat? In class, we're going to write our answers down on Post-its, and we're going to think about some of those answers that we have next. So if we were to take the category places that we like to eat, we might write on these Post-it notes that maybe we like to eat outside. So outside might be one option. We like to eat in the cafeteria. Maybe we like to eat at the kitchen table at our house. Maybe we like to eat at a restaurant. So we have lots of different answers. And what we want to do is we want to try to create categories. So maybe you put all the Post-it notes and all the ideas together of places that are outside of your home. And maybe you put all the Post-it notes and ideas together that are inside of your home. So maybe inside your home you like to eat on the couch or at your kitchen table or maybe laying in bed, right? And maybe outside of your home, you like to eat at a picnic, or maybe you like to eat at a restaurant, or maybe you like to eat at grandma's house, right? So those are 3 different options outside of your home. So 2 categories we could create would be a category of inside my house or outside of my house. We could also create categories of restaurants, and we could list different names of restaurants that we like to eat. And one of our categories could just be all the restaurants we like to eat at. Another category could be places in nature that we like to eat, at a picnic table, sitting on the grass, under a tree, right? So depending on the answers we get, we can group our answers into categories. Now we can use those to ask and answer questions. So using our data, now that we grouped it into categories, we can ask ourselves, which place to eat is the most popular? That would be the one that you have the most answers for. So if you had 12 people that said they like to eat at the kitchen table, and that was the most of any answer, then eating at the kitchen table would be the most popular answer. If your question is which places to eat are tied, then you could look at your graph, your data, and you could say, oh, I have 3 people that like eating at grandma's house, but it also had 3 people that like to eat at a picnic. So I could say that eating at a picnic and eating at grandma's house were tied. I might have the question, which place to eat has the least? It was the least favorite. Maybe only 1 person liked eating in their bed. Maybe the rest of the class didn't like to get crumbs in their bed, right? So you could say eating in your bed was the least popular answer, the least favorite. You could also ask questions where we're comparing two possibles. So I could ask a question like, how many more kids like to eat at McDonald's than Olive Garden? Well, if 5 people like to eat at McDonald's and only 2 people like to eat at Olive Garden, 5 - 2 would be 3. So that means I have 3 more kids that like to eat at McDonald's than I do at Olive Garden. And finally, I might have a question where I'm asking to put the answers together. So how many kids like to eat at McDonald's or Olive Garden? I have 5 that like to eat at McDonald's and 2 that like to eat at Olive Garden. And if I'm putting them together, then I would get my total. So total, I have 7 kids that like to eat at McDonald's or Olive Garden. Now we can rearrange the data into new categories. That might be something that you try at home. So could we arrange the data into groups? We did that earlier. We're talking about inside our house and outside of our house. That was our 2 categories. So that's a possibility. And when you rearrange the categories, it does change your questions and your answers when you regroup them. So you could repeat this activity at home with places you like to visit. Think of all the places you like to visit and then group them into categories. So in class, we're going to work on an activity called Organizing the Data of Mrs. Cutter's 3rd grade class. So we're going to cut out the data from Mrs. Cutter's class. We're going to decide on the question we'd like to answer. We're going to organize our data, and we're going to glue our pieces onto a blank piece of paper and label each category. And then when we're done, we're going to answer the questions on page 63 of our notebook. Well, if you're not in class, you couldn't do this in class. So what we could do is pop over here and take a look at our data for Mrs. Cutter's class. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it. Here is the data for Mrs. Cutter's class. And so these are the places that Mrs. Cutter's class liked to eat. So we had the kitchen, the pizza market, the couch, Bert's Pizza, backyard, kitchen table, Alan's restaurant, my friend's house, the school, ice cream shop, my aunt's house, the park, Willow Park, Jose's Mexican restaurant, a burger place, home, my house, Russell Street ice cream, dining room, and grandma's house. One thing I want to ask is, do people like to eat at home or away from home? That would be the question that I'd like to ask. So I'm going to group my categories into at home or away from home. So I could see that I could put my kitchen into home. And if I wrote with my pen, I could write that this is going to be my home. These are going to be all the ones that have to do with home. So now I'm going to say the pizza market, that one, does that one belong in home? Pizza market does not belong in home. So I'm going to put it over here next to home, but it's not in the home category. And I'm going to not take the time to write that there, but you know that that's the not at home. What about a couch? Is that in your home? Yes. So I would put that together. Bert's Pizza, is that at home? Not at home, right? Backyard, that's a tricky one, right? Maybe we think, well, technically my backyard's at my house, but it's not really in my home. So I could make a 3rd category if I wanted to and put it off to the side. That's a possibility. Maybe I'll just leave it over here for now and think about it later. The park is going to be outside of my home. Willow Park is outside my home. So you see I could move these around and group these into 2 different possibilities. Grandma's house is not at my home, so I have to put it over here. Okay, so right now I have 2 that are at my home and 5 that are not at home. So if I were to stop here, this is all the data I would have. I would say that Mrs. Cutter's class mostly likes to eat away from home and not at home. But I'd have to finish sorting the rest of these cards to figure out if that was true. Let's go back to our lesson. So to wrap up our lesson, we drag the cards to organize the data, and you can practice that at home. And finally, we're going to do our independent practice on math skills on pages 64, 67, and 68 in your math book. So I hope this lesson helped you see how we can organize data into different groups. And I'm just going to pop back up here to what we learned. We learned how to organize categorical data into groups. Remember, categories is when the answer is going to be a word, not a number. And that we could regroup them and organize them in different ways. And we could represent that with a bar graph And we did that kind of by stacking up those answer choices, and it kind of created a bar going up. We're going to be practicing more with bar graphs later. All right, bye-bye.